What's going on, everybody? It's the Monday edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Nick Whalen, Alex Barutha back with you. Lots to get to, Alex. I love doing this show with you. We get to recap the weekend. We get to talk some waiver wire. Of course, field as many questions as we can from the live chat. So stack those up in there. We'll hit them as we get through the show. Want to talk about some big trades that went down in a couple of our leagues over the weekend, some waiver wire additions, and then some players that we are considering looking to get off of as we are basically at the quarter mark in the NBA season. Let's start with the waiver wire, Alex. We'll talk about some of the injuries that we're keeping an eye on, but we don't have a huge load of those this week relative to last week. We often reference the 15-team RotoWire staff league, a little bit deeper as far as some of the names who are coming across the wire every week. But I'm always surprised, at the caliber of players who are available. Like, I was able to get Malik Monk for $3, which I know the Kings are the Kings. I know the playing time has been up and down, but just somebody I want on my roster, even though I'm not starting him this week on a 2-game week. But Jared McCain ended up being the high dollar ad in the 15-teamer this week, $21 for McCain. I didn't even put in a keep an honest bid on him. A few people went lower in that league. Is he a $21 player to you?
I don't think so. I mean, his past, well, he just had a 5-point game against this in the double OT Atlanta game. He only had 5 points on 7 shots and played 28 minutes. But before that, he'd been playing well, averaging, a 20-point, a 15-point game, and a 15-point game. But that was like Paul George missed one of those games, and VJ Edgecombe was out for, I think, a couple of those games, if not all of them. Oubre's been out. So to me, McCain is, I think he's fine if you add him for the short term. I assume Philly's playing 4 games this week. I didn't double check. But I will not be surprised if McCain is essentially a drop sooner than later.
Yeah, it is a 4-game week for the Sixers. They are idle tonight. They play Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. So we do have a back-to-back in there. Home for Golden State Thursday, at Milwaukee on Friday. I'm curious about McCain. I just don't know if there's quite enough upside where I wanted to burn, what would be like a third of my fab budget in a league where you're making moves every single week. The production has been a little hit or miss. You're hoping for some steals. He had that 5-steal game against Brooklyn over the weekend. Also got off to a terrible start, which I think threw some people off the scent. He was what, like 0 of 9 from the field, I think, in his first 3 games, and then the minutes were down. But there's just so many moving pieces, as we keep saying, with the 76ers. I did not add this player this week. I added him last week, and I'm glad I did, Alex. Jay Huff for the Indiana Pacers. I needed blocks. I needed rebounds. He's not giving me a ton of boards, but really the blocks are what you're after here. Last 5 games for Jay Huff, 4, 4, 3, 2, and 4 blocks in the starting lineup over these last 2 games. We'll see if that sticks. I hope it does. It hasn't made a huge impact on his minutes. They're still kind of rotating multiple options at center, but a guy who, in 10 and 12 team leagues, obviously is still very much out there. How sustainable do you think what we've seen over these last couple of weeks for Jay Huff is going to be going forward?
I think it's pretty sustainable. I mean, I would almost argue that his performances at the beginning of the year were like, I think what he's doing right now is who we thought he would be, right? Coming into the season. I mean, doing our projections for RotoWire, last season he was a 50% from the field, 40% from 3 guy with the great per minute blocks, and he played poorly to start this season. And now what he's doing is essentially what we thought he was going to do if he got the minutes. So maybe there's some regression coming. Obviously, Memphis and Indiana are very different situations year to year. But to me, he's a must-add player in 12-teamers, probably 10-teamers going forward.
I found myself on Jay Huff's Wikipedia page over the weekend. He's just one of those guys you want to gather some intel on. His father was the director of the Coach K Human Performance Laboratory at Duke University.
Whoa.
Like, he was literally created in a lab to be good at basketball.
Jay Huff was created in a lab. That's that's good. That's good.
I'm sure you've seen this stuff on Twitter, by the way, that he only dunks backwards.
Yeah, I saw that.
Unbelievable. At first, I was like, oh, this must be just like a joke or something. And then somebody posted like 25 dunks of his, and every single one reverse. Very interesting player, very unique player. Pacers, by the way, are a little bit frisky over these last few games. I mean, they are top 10 in net rating. They've been the 3rd best defense over the last 6 games. I mean, still without Nesmith, still without Toppin, obviously no Halliburton, but they are no longer just the pushover that they were when Nembhard and Mathurin were out.
Yeah, I mean, they're if Huff is going to play like this and block this many shots at the rim, like you're gonna be in games.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, they're still being carried. Maybe the lead might have gotten buried with them that like TJ McConnell came back and is playing well. So
Yeah.
he's actually for a team of this caliber, McConnell.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Other ads in that 15-team league, we mentioned McCain. John Collins was picked up for $18. Our guy James Anderson, who's doing very well in that league, dropped John Collins a couple weeks ago, and now he's had a couple decent performances. Jose Alvarado, there are a lot of bids in for him. Chris Dunn was picked up. Like I said, I grabbed Malik Monk, Jaylen Wells, somebody who's putting up some numbers for the Grizzlies. I did put in a keep him honest bid on Wells, $0. I'm like, look, if nobody else wants him, I'll take him.
Right.
But I preferred Malik Monk just because it does feel like there is somewhat of an expiration date on Jaylen Wells. But at the same time, you could kind of see this Ja Morant overall saga, Morant versus the Grizzlies, Morant versus injuries continuing as the season goes along.
Funny enough, I dropped Monk last week, I think, to activate somebody off of my IR. And it was kind of a hard choice, but I was like, I don't really need what he's doing. Yeah, Wells is interesting. Some of it I think is just like hot shooting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Cedric Howard is not as involved as he was previously. And I think Wells has been able to step up. So I'm not convinced that Jaylen Wells is going to be a 12-team guy. But in a 16-team league, I think you have to take the chance.
We did see the Grizzlies in action last night against the Kings. Just a battle between Western Conference powers. Zach Edey, 32 points, 17 rebounds, 5 blocks, 16 of 20 from the field, 0 of 1 at the free throw line. I watched the whole Edey highlight package last night before bed. That looked like Purdue Zach Edey, like assertive on the block, just finishing everything. Some really tough catches, including a couple late in the game. Like there was a drive, I think it was Coward, who basically tripped on himself, like threw a pretty bad pass, and Edey like caught it, 3 feet behind his body, reeled it in for a layup. Really started to gain confidence. It's tough because he had the 21-15 game against the Pelicans earlier last week, and then he turns around with 5 points against the Clippers. But the rebounding has been there just about every night. He's got 10 blocks over his last 3 games. How highly do you value Zach Edey going forward?
I mean, I'm not surprised he had kind of a lower game against the Clippers dealing with Zubac. Right. I mean, I felt like those guys were going to kind of cancel each other out, but I think if you just look at the stats he's producing right now, 25 minutes a game, 14 points, 11 rebounds, 60+% from the field, 2 blocks. I think that's all pretty legit. And is again, another guy like Huff, more or less. This is what we thought he was going to do coming into the year. So obviously a must roster player across pretty much every fantasy league.
We'll hit some injury news in just a moment, but first, some housekeeping. We are brought to you by Vivid Seats. The NBA is back in action. Don't just catch it on the couch. Lock in your seat this season with the Vivid Seats app, where you'll score the lowest price tickets guaranteed. That's right. Vivid Seats is introducing their new lowest price guarantee. So you're getting the best deal all season long. Seriously, try to find a cheaper ticket. Every dunk, every drive, every jaw-dropping play from your favorite team, you can see it live and in person. And here's the clincher. When you buy with the Vivid Seats app, you rack up rewards and free credits. Talk about a clutch home court advantage. And if that wasn't enough, Vivid Seats is offering you $20 off your first $200 ticket purchase. Just use the code ROTOWIRE, ROTOWIRE. Step into the NBA season like a pro. Download the Vivid Seats app. Get the best deal in the game with the best prices. Terms apply. We're also brought to you by Sling. Tired of paying for live TV you don't watch? With Sling, you get all the live sports, news, and entertainment you want, only when you want it. Get your hands on a Sling Day Pass, Week Pass, or Weekend Pass starting at just $4.99. You get over 30 of your favorite channels for the best price. You can stop overpaying for full-time live TV plans. Sling has a pass for any occasion. Is there a big game tonight? You can grab a day pass for just $4.99. If you want a week of live TV for one low price, you can get a 7-day week pass. For all those weekend watchers out there, you can enjoy live sports, news, and entertainment from Friday morning to Sunday night with a weekend pass. Only Sling lets you watch when you want, so you only pay for what you're watching. Get live TV for the day, the week, or the weekend, your choice, all for a great price. Watch live TV on your terms, starting at just $4.99. Sling lets you do that. Use the link below to sign up today. All right, Alex. So like I said, not a ton of injury cleanup here. We got Jarrett Allen in Cleveland. Looks like he's going to miss at least a week. I think this is now 2 separate finger injuries that have cost Jared Allen time early in the season. Cavs are resting multiple starters tonight on the second night of a back-to-back, but he's going to miss time beyond that. The big one, of course, is Stephen Curry, and that happened just before Thanksgiving last Wednesday night. It certainly looked more severe at first. I have Stephen Curry on my most important team. I was watching that one like a CIA video, and really just kind of looked like he ended up banging up his hamstring a little bit. Sounds like Curry's going to be missing at least a week. They're going to reevaluate him on Wednesday. So not a whole lot of actionable advice there. I'm keeping him out of my lineups in weekly leagues. Dominating got banged up last night. Doesn't sound like anything major there. RJ Barrett, of course, still missing time for Toronto. And then Isaiah Hartenstein. That's an impactful one for OKC.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what OKC is going to do. I assume this is just going to be a lot more Jalen Williams, big Jalen Williams, who is, when he plays and he gets real minutes, is going to be putting up like probably numbers worthy of a 16-team roster spot, I would imagine. And if Chet misses any time too, like we've seen Jalen Williams in the past put up some just monster games. They can feed him usage, and he will put up like essentially a fringe triple-double all the time. So, I'll be curious to see how much he gets used, but someone to keep an eye on.
Yeah, we should probably mention Jaylen Williams, who is in fact back in action for the one-loss Oklahoma City Thunder. They got a win over Portland last night, beat the Suns, 2 relatively close games with Jaylen Williams. He goes 11 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals in his debut, just 3 of 12 from the field. Played a full complement of minutes, though, last night against Portland. 34 minutes, 16 points on 18 shots, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 blocks. So not bad, I would say, for shaking off some rust first 2 games of the year.
Not bad. It seems like they really took their time bringing him back, so I'm not surprised that he's essentially ready to go. Obviously, if you've been hanging on to Jalen Williams, this is great. We'll see how much he affects guys like SGA. It might be tough for AJ Mitchell to keep doing what he's been doing.
Yeah, the AJ Mitchell thing, I totally missed the boat on that. I think most people had a chance to get their hands on AJ Mitchell, and I mean that was kind of the obvious in retrospect fill-in for Jalen Williams. Like, for one, I didn't think Jalen Williams would miss this much time. I just wasn't really that concerned about it. But yeah, we saw AJ Mitchell play 5 minutes in the Phoenix game, and then 29, and gave you 17, 5 and 5 last night against Portland. So yeah, I mean, so many options for OKC, right? It almost feels like they're dipping into guys that they don't need to dip into every single night, and still finding ways to win games. All right, let's take a look at the chat here. Some good questions stacking up. Our guy 95s with a Z says, good afternoon. I traded Ant for Brandon Miller and Julius Randle in a 9-cat 12-team league. My team was really struggling, so I feel good about it. Your thoughts on this 2-for-1?
That's an interesting deal. I mean, Miller's been struggling a little bit, or he got hurt, and I feel like some games I watch him, he's just not as involved as I want him to be. But I still believe in him overall and the talent, and I think it's a kind of a good buy low opportunity, honestly, on Miller. And as we've said in the past, you traded one starter and you're getting 2 guys you're going to start every week back. And if you're struggling, obviously something with your team is not going right. So I think this is a fine deal.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing in the back of my mind is just, the already somewhat lengthy injury history for Brandon Miller. Missed a ton of time last year, has already missed like a month this year. He is coming off a 1 of 13 shooting night against Toronto on Saturday. They still won that game somehow against a really good Raptors team. But yeah, as far as a 2-for-1 buying low on Miller, I think that's totally fine. Question on Rudy Gobert from Wave Runner Quadruple Zero. Is it time to sell Rudy Gobert? What round could I realistically get a player in return? Could I get someone like Ryan Rollins, Norman Powell? This is a 9-cat 12-teamer.
You might be able to get Ryan Rollins if someone's worried about the KPJ return. Right. I think Norman Powell is probably gettable because, assuming you are in a cat league, someone might be like, well, I need rebounds and blocks and field goal percentage, even if they're not as good as they used to be, and I don't need points, so I'll trade Powell for Gobert. I think you're in like the right range in terms of your targets. Yeah, and Gobert is basically giving you the same production as last year. The free throw shooting has been terrible. He's under 50%. He's always been bad, but he was at least like mid 60s, which you could stomach or try to offset. And he's still taking 3.5 a game. So that does matter. But the shot blocking on balance is actually up
slightly compared to last year. The rebounds are about where they were, slight drop off in points. So to answer the original question here is like, is it time to sell Gobert? Yeah, you could do it, but I think what he's given you so far is still valuable and fairly sustainable.
Yeah.
All right. Another question here from the Wave Runner: Watson, Monk, or Saddiq Bey rest of season?
Well, Watson was essentially irrelevant before Brown and Gordon got hurt.
Right.
And Bey was I don't know how much of a role he's going to have when everyone's healthy, but he's been balling lately. So,
Yes.
And Monk, I have no idea what's going to happen to him. I assume Monk's going to get traded and then play like 20 something minutes wherever he goes. So I might talk myself into Saddiq Bey, but I don't really like any of those guys rest of season.
No, I guess to me, it's like not even rest of season, but like who would I rather have for the next 2 months? It's probably still Peyton Watson, just because of the timetables for the two Denver guys. I mean, Malik Monk maybe has like, he'll have like the highest peak games perhaps in that span, but if you're in a weekly league and you have to throw him out there for 3 or 4 games, there's just going to be big time roller coasters. And I mean, with Saddiq Bey, obviously didn't play at all last year. Kind of forgot that he was on the Pelicans roster, if I'm being honest, going into this. I mean, they've had at least one, if not like 3 or 4 major guys out, it feels like every night. And this recent run of production has specifically come with Herb Jones missing all of those games.
Yeah, I was trying to dig into like what's going on. Well, obviously just getting more usage of minutes at some of it, but a lot of it is he's able to attack the rim more.
Right.
Like the rim attempts are way up, but yeah, he's been playing really well.
I would love to see what that search looked like. You're just like going to Google, like, why is Saddiq Bey good?
I wish I could Google stuff like that sometime.
Well, he's rebounded as well. He's giving you steals. True, If you stream Saddiq Bey this past week, good for you. Another trade question here. Our question asker, Tony, he says, traded away Kawhi for Porzingis and Jrue Holiday.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
interesting.
If you sort of assume that Porzingis and Kawhi have the same injury risk, which I think is fine, the fact that you're getting like Jrue Holiday as a throw-in, I think it's a good trade.
I wanted to bring this up in general because I went down the Kawhi path in the stake league, and for context here, this is a league that I want to win, but the more important thing is to just finish in the top half. And I'm already kind of regretting it. You know, Kawhi's been awesome when he's been out there, but you know, he's already missed time, and the Clippers are a disaster. The Clippers do not own their pick, however, so they should be highly motivated to try to get this thing on the rails and, you know, in theory, push Kawhi to play as many games as possible. But is this kind of the realm of possibility for a Kawhi trade? Because I wouldn't feel great about bringing in Porzingis because I just almost worry about the same things, right? It's like every single night it's an illness or sore calf, and it's like, especially in a weekly lineup league, you're never confident rolling Kawhi out there, but you're also not super confident rolling Porzingis out there.
I think yeah, I mean, to me, they have similar value. Like, I'm more confident in Porzingis being available, but he's not going to play as well. And I think they had roughly the same ADP going into the season. So, like I said, the fact that you would get somebody who is also kind of a risk plus a throw-in, you know, I mean, I think if you're trying to trade Kawhi and just get 2 stable guys back, you're probably going to hope for like 2 top 80 guys in return, which is like not something you ideally want, but it's still kind of where we're at with them.
Mm-hmm. Porzingis, by the way, out again tonight. That'll be 3 straight for him and 7 of the last 10. Don't like seeing that illness tag next to Porzingis specifically. All right, good either or question here. Rest of season, Dylan, Harper, or Jaden Ivey?
I think I would just rather take the risk with Harper. I really don't know if he's going to play. I mean, the thing is, the past 3 games, 17 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes for Harper. And this has been without Victor Wembanyama. It's been without Stephon Castle. And Castle, I think, is actually on the verge of returning.
Yep.
But Jaden Ivey has just not been fantasy relevant. I don't want to say he hasn't been fantasy relevant in his career. He seemed like he was going to be last year and then got injured. And he just can't get his minutes up now.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, I think for both of these guys, they're returning to teams that are playing well without them. Exactly. And it's like, we don't really want to disrupt this. And I mean, with Ivey, it's been 5 games, right? Like with Harper, I think you can at least say like, oh, maybe they're being cautious. He's a rookie. He's only been back for 3 games. I mean, Ivey's played 5 games now. We just talked about Jalen Williams coming back and playing 34 minutes immediately, right? It's like this would be a pretty long ramp up for Ivey to still not have played more than 15 minutes in any of these games.
Yep. I think that they are exactly like you said. They're playing really well without him. They don't necessarily need what he does right now. I think he'll eventually work his way up to like 6-man minutes, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would rather chance it on Harper as well. I think we've already seen a little more upside with him early on. We talked a little bit about Jay Huff, but we've been asked for some analysis on him rest of season. I think the biggest question is, do we trust him to remain a starter? Does it matter if he's a starter? Is Indy going to look to upgrade at center at some point?
I don't trust him. I don't trust him to remain a starter rest of season because of what Carlisle has been doing in terms of like Isaiah Jackson, Jay Huff, Tony Bradley, like that sort of whatever the opposite of a three-headed monster is. But my assumption is going to be that he will probably deserve to be on 12-team rosters for the rest of the year because even when he was not playing well, again, he is the total blocks leader in the NBA. So even when he is not playing, shooting well, only playing 12, 15 minutes a game, like he's still going to give you 2 blocks.
Yeah, you're right. I just pulled. So he has 8 games this year where he's played between 10 and 16 minutes, which kind of feels like it's now like the absolute floor with how well he's been playing. He's only averaging 4 points, 3 rebounds in those games, but you're really after the blocks here. And he's giving you 1.6 blocks. Like that's what Rudy Gobert is averaging on the season. And he's doing that in 13 and a half minutes. So I think there will be weeks where if the playing time is down, he's not going to be this crazy, blocking 4 shots in 22 minutes type of guy. But the underlying numbers are really friendly for him. And I think it is a good sign that he's now kind of the latest flavor of the week in terms of starting at center. Because Isaiah Jackson has played pretty well behind him. And we neglected to mention they also have Jeremiah Robinson Earl now on a standard contract. So I guess technically a 4-headed monster. Tough question here from @CharlieHammer27. Who's most valuable for the rest of the season? Bilal Coulibaly, Ausar Thompson, VJ Edgecombe, Jaime Jaquez, or Trey Jones?
I think it's a tough question.
Yeah, a lot of names to sort through.
I will say I've been getting a lot of questions about Ausar Thompson, whether he's a drop or not. Honestly, same with Buzelis. I know he's not in this conversation, but I've been getting like, do I drop Buzelis? Do I drop Ausar? Don't drop those guys. I don't know. This is really tough, man. I will say Trey Jones has played well. Don't know how much I trust it. Bilal, in theory, has more of like a runway to usage come February than like Ausar Thompson does. I don't know. Do you feel like there's a strong?
Not really. I think Coulibaly and Ausar are kind of similar in terms of floor upside. Two very different teams, right? It's like if you trust Coulibaly to avoid any sort of tanking rest down the stretch, like the Wizards are losing plenty of games with everybody playing, so I don't think that's like a massive concern. Asar's in a much better basketball situation, but now with Ivey back, that's kind of another piece that you have to try to integrate. Edgecombe, that's tough too, because the Sixers have been without at least one key piece every single night, and he missed a game, played light minutes coming back. Jaquez is really interesting to me, but now I kind of want to see what this looks like for an extended period with Powell and Tyler Hero, and even like Pelle Larson's playing a ton of minutes. Like they just have so many guys, and of course I think we have like a half game sample of Jaquez out there with Hero and Powell because he immediately got hurt and might not play to start this week.
Yeah, this is probably between VJ and Jaquez to me because I just think they are so important to what their teams are doing.
Yeah.
Like those are the guys who are going to play 30 to 36 minutes when things are right, and then they'll get hot. So I think it's probably between those two guys.
All right, good trade question here. I ended up trading away Jalen Johnson straight up for James Harden. Need more assists. Worried about that a little bit with Trae Young coming back. This is a 9-cat 12-teamer. Jalen Johnson for James Harden.
I think in theory Harden wins that deal, but you have a lot more. I would now trade Jalen Johnson. I'm not saying it's because you shouldn't have, but like maybe that's my problem is that I look at those numbers, and of course, like Trae Young will come back and will affect Jalen Johnson's numbers, and I'm sure they'll go down. I'm almost 100% sure of that, but that's a hard deal to make, man.
Yeah, I mean, like the raw numbers so far, if you need assists, say that it hasn't been that big of a difference. It's like a little over 1 more per game from Harden. I totally get the concern with Trae Young. I still think there's going to be a pretty nice assist floor with Jalen Johnson, but even in his mid to late 30s, I still love Harden. Like he's super durable. Again, the Clippers should be motivated to try to turn this thing around. I don't think they're just going to punt on this season and hand over a top 5 pick. So I think you're okay here. I think you're okay trying to be proactive before Trey comes back. Our guy, Adam King, he says, what do we think is the ceiling for Reed Sheppard this season?
Well, I think when we did our projections, he came out as definitely a top 75 player.
Yep.
And maybe like a top 60 player when we thought he was essentially, I think we adjusted our projections by then.
Yeah.
But I still think he can be a top 75 player. If he's going to play high 20s to low 30s minutes per game, I think he will be that.
He is, over his last 5 games, so last 2 weeks, he is 32nd in 8-cat leagues. That's 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.2 steals, 1 block, 2.6 threes, and pretty good percentages. Now, KD missed some time in there. Tari Easton's been out. There's still kind of night to night fluctuations, but I don't think it's crazy to say he could be a top 50 guy.
No, I mean, on the whole season, he's 61st per game in 8-cat. And that's through all the people were asking, do I drop this guy early in the season? And so through all the ups and downs, he is 61st right now. So yeah, I mean, top 75 to me seems almost like a lock.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. All right. Is Adams from Houston going to be okay this week? I believe I just got a notification that he is out to begin the week. They are resting him tonight against the Jazz. It is the second night of a back-to-back for Houston, but they also have a back-to-back Friday, Saturday. So, you probably get a couple games from Steven Adams, in a weekly league. Don't throw him out there. Talked a little bit about this earlier. We got a question on Porzingis. Are you worried at all about Porzingis? I'm trying to trade for him in a 12-team 9-cat league. Right now, my offer is Keyshawn George and Kevin Porter Jr. for Porzingis. If you worry about Porzingis, should I replace Keyshawn George with Draymond in that deal?
Send the Draymond offer first.
Yeah.
That's going to be...
Might as well try it.
Yeah, try the Draymond offer first. I think KPJ and Draymond for Porzingis is something that maybe a Porzingis manager would be like, I'm going to think about this a little bit, especially if KPJ has a nice week or so, depending on when exactly you send this deal. I don't know if I would do it for you. I don't know if I would trade away Keyshawn George and KPJ for Porzingis. I would include Draymond.
Okay, there we have it. Speaking of Jay Huff, would you rather have Clowney or Jay Huff? They rank very similarly over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Clowney is way safer because he's playing 30, 35 minutes a game and just chucking up shots. But Clowney's also one of those dudes who can get you 23 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, no steals, no blocks.
Got some Carmelo Anthony lines.
Yeah. And you have to view steals, blocks, assists, rebounds as more valuable than points,
Right.
I think I would rather have Huff, but that's risky.
Yeah. I don't love either situation, to be honest, but I think the block specifically for Huff, the consistency with which those have been there, that probably breaks the tie for me. All right. 8-team head-to-head 9-cat league. Giannis or Barnes and Keyonte George.
I mean,
that's a very interesting deal.
It probably should. I'm pretty sure the numbers would say you just take Barnes and Keyonte George. Those guys are playing at such a great level.
Yeah.
Keyonte had a horrible game the other night, but he was sick, I think. Didn't he have an illness coming into that game?
He did.
Yeah, he did. And going up against the Rockets. Imagine having the flu and then you have to face Amen Thompson and Reed Sheppard all night. Yeah.
Don't play through it, man. Yeah. He only played 19 minutes last night, scoreless on 6 shots, 8 turnovers, by the way, in 19 minutes for Keyonte George. All right. Is there still hope for Derik Queen? The system in New Orleans seems messy. Should I drop him now or keep waiting?
You can't. I don't think you can drop Derik Queen.
No.
And I've been keeping an eye on this. They're playing Messi a lot more. They're playing Alvarado a lot more. They look better without the plus minus is Messi and Alvarado up, Fears and Queen down. But the highs for Queen have been so good and they're so invested in him that I don't think you can drop him.
I wouldn't either. And partially because I think the way this Pelican season is playing out is going to play into his hands. They're not winning games, whether they feature Derik Queen or they don't feature Derik Queen. Maybe things will be better when DeJounte's back. They've once again had terrible health luck. I get that, but they also have risky players all over the roster. I just think like if and when the bottom falls out on this team, like why not just kind of turn things over more often to Queen later in the year?
Yeah, and I mean, you're also part of the appeal with Queen, and a lot of guys on this Pelicans roster was like, I don't trust Zion to stay healthy.
Right.
And so this recent stretch where Queen has been playing poorly, we're talking about like 5, 6, 7, 8 games, a exact amount of games that Zion Williamson has essentially been back. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, this is an interesting one and kind of ties into some of the sell high stuff I wanted to talk about because Grayson Allen and especially Dillon Brooks were on my list. Our question asker says he's in a 12-team points league. Should I drop Grayson Allen or Dillon Brooks to pick up Cam Johnson on a 4-game week?
I don't know if Brooks or Allen are droppable.
That's the thing. I think you try to trade him first.
You do. Eventually, Jalen Green is going to come back, and that makes me worry about both of those guys. But we were going to say the same thing about Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon. And so I don't think you do it. And the thing is, here's what I'll say about Cam Johnson. He's playing really well over the past 7 games. He's shooting 59% from the field and 61% from 3 over the past 7. So he's scoring 18 points a game. When he starts shooting normally, he's going to be back to 14 or 13 points a game. And then so that doesn't matter to me.
A little bit better defensive production over the last couple of weeks, a couple decent rebound assist games, but yeah, you're really after the threes with him. And I think the recent uptick in general is like semi-sustainable because Brown and Gordon are out. But yeah, you're right. The efficiency is not going to maintain. Also saw a note on him earlier today that he is taking over for JJ Redick on the Old Man and the Three podcast. So factor that into your analysis accordingly.
That means that's a sell high to me.
Well, in general though, on Allen and Brooks, like, did you want like I don't want to wait until Jalen Green is back to try to get off those guys. Like Dillon Brooks in particular is playing at just a preposterous level. Like everything is way up. Like shooting at the rim is up like 12 percentage points from his career numbers. Like the only thing he's not doing at a crazy rate is hitting threes. He's taking a ton of threes. When I put together a video, featuring him last week, and at that time, I think they've only played 2 games since then. So these numbers should still hold up. His usage rate was like 28.5%.
Yeah, it's 27% assists included usage rate, which is the second highest of his career. Basically, when you compare it to the year he was just like doing everything in Memphis, and they were like, I think we've had enough of this.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, yeah, some of the rim numbers are unsustainable, but the usage is there. And honestly, the part of the thing with the Dillon Brooks like experience has been he is a way better defensive player than his numbers were. So you would get this idea that, he's getting me all these steals, and he wasn't. But he's 1.7 steals right now. So I don't really think that's going to decrease when Jalen Green is back.
Yeah, that's the thing. He'll still start, alongside Jalen Green. I mean, would you rather be trying to get off of Grayson Allen, who, of course, just came back from his multi-week absence?
Probably. I'm trying to figure out. So you have 30 minutes a game for Jalen Green, right? I mean, a lot of that's going to be Colin Gillespie's not going to play as much. Same with Jordan Goodwin. We'll see what happens with like Ryan Dunn and those guys. I don't know who I would rather ditch between Grayson Allen and Dillon Brooks.
Yeah, I think part of it is just what you can get, right? Like, can you sell high enough on Dillon Brooks where it makes sense? Like, again, I think you have like a 2-week window to try to do that before Jalen Green comes back. Like, I want somebody who's playing not at like 120% of their usual levels. And it's not like Dillon Brooks is 25 years old. It's like, oh, he's finally in the right situation. It's like, no, we know who Dillon Brooks is.
Yeah, I think if you could get any like top 75 for Dillon Brooks type player, I think that's fine. And probably the same for Grayson Allen.
I think so. I mean, with both those guys, they're hitting a ton of threes. Allen specifically, the volume has been crazy, and that will decrease when Jalen Green is back. All right, this is a little more in our wheelhouse, Alex. Colin Sexton or Kyle Kuzma in a 14-team points league?
I think I trust Sexton more. Like Kuzma's going to occasionally get you those like rebounds games. He'll get hot shooting the ball. But to me, Sexton feels a lot more like integrated and essential to what Charlotte is doing than what Kuzma's doing for Milwaukee.
I just have an inherent distrust of Kyle Kuzma. Was really good in that Knicks game. Hit some big shots to kind of pull the Bucks back late. Ended up going at, what was he, like 8 of 9 from the field, and then follows it up with 11 points in 22 minutes over kind of a nothing win over the Nets on Saturday. I'm with you. I would go Sexton. The occasional defensive numbers from Kuzma are nice. I think they now vastly prefer him to Bobby Portis, who even when Portis is playing well, they just like, we can't allow you to play more than 23 minutes, man. We just can't afford it defensively. But yeah, it would be Sexton for me. Would you rather hold Buzelis or Derik Queen in a 10-team ESPN points league?
Probably Queen, but I don't think either of those guys.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to drop either of those guys, man. I know it's a 10-team, so your options are a lot more. You have a lot of options on your wire, but I don't know.
All right, we'll go rapid fire through a few more here. Is John Collins a pickup again, specifically in a 10-teamer? That's where it's interesting. In the 15-team RotoWire league, yes. In a 10-teamer, you say no?
I say no. That game,
okay.
He had 21 points on 9 of 10 shooting. That's fake. Throw that out the window. He's not a pickup.
Okay. Yeah, pretty friendly schedule over these last few games for the LA Clippers, relatively speaking. All right, here's another guy I wanted to talk about in the sell high category. I couldn't quite include him on my list when I made the video. He was the first guy I wrote down. And then when I started digging into the numbers, I know it was a really small sample with both he and Trae Young out there, but he actually had a higher usage rate with Trae Young in the lineup that he's had without him. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, man, has been one of the finds of the first quarter of the season. The question here is he a rest of season hold in a 10-teamer?
In a 10-team points league, I mean, he mostly scores.
Right.
So, yeah, a points league, I mean, right now he's averaging 33 fantasy points per game. I think in a 10-teamer, it's been a while since I've been in a 10-team points league. But I'm going to assume that the best guy in your waiver wire is consistently giving like 26 to 27 fantasy points per game. Mm-hmm. And I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to be above that. So I would hold him.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you probably expect a reduction in some of the quote unquote like splashier assist games. He had 7 assists last night. That was also a double overtime game against Philly. So like there have been some breaks in there. There's been some just monster shooting nights. He had that 8 of 10 from 3 game a couple weeks ago. He's been way more efficient than you would expect. But I have him in the stake league. I'm going to keep riding this out. I at least want to see what it looks like once Trae Young is back. What do you think it takes to trade for Devin Booker in a 12-team 9-cat league? My team has SGA, Trey Murphy, Avdia, Okongwu, Quickly, Keita, Tumani Kamara, Jakob Poeltl, Vince Williams, Nurkic, KPJ, and Keegan Murray. So we're basically being asked to build a package for Devin Booker.
I mean, yeah, I think it's probably easier if I'm on the Booker side of this. Like, what would I want? What would I need to get Booker, or that I feel like I could move off of Booker? It'd be hard for me to do it without Avdia involved, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So it'd probably be like Avdia and maybe like Avdia and a Okongwu, and then maybe like a KPJ just as like a flyer. But even then, I almost feel like that's not enough.
Yeah, I think you can build a few packages here. I mean, how do you value Trey Murphy in this asset hierarchy?
Like worse than Avdia, but to me, still on the tier of like he should be. I mean, he can't be lower than like a top 50 player to me,
right?
Value wise.
All right, interesting 3-for-3 trade here for us to analyze. Jalen Duren, Kevin Durant, and Franz Wagner, or Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, and Dyson Daniels. Who would win this theoretical deal?
I think Duren, Durant, and Franz.
Okay.
Yeah, because to me, this is the Dyson Daniels to me is the weak link here. And I think he will still be. I think you're still going to start him most weeks when Trae Young comes back. But I think there might be some weeks where you don't start Dyson Daniels when he's on a 3-game week when Trae Young is back.
Mm-hmm.
If you need steals, like maybe it's a different conversation. But there's not really a situation in which you would be sitting Duren, Durant, and Franz ever,
right?
If they have a 3-game week.
How much does Evan Mobley just kind of being the same guy again this season factor into this?
I don't know. I think he's better with when Garland's around, and Garland hasn't played that much. I
Yeah.
would have liked to just seen a little more development, obviously, from Mobley, but still someone who I would again value as. I mean, he's a top 50 guy bare minimum, probably more like top 30 still.
Do you think Paolo Banchero will return by the end of the month? If I had to bet on it, I would say yes. Yeah. I mean, they're kind of going day to day now, right?
Yeah, because every indication that we have is that it's not really much of a different injury than what Giannis had, and Giannis was out for like 4 games, and Paolo's been out for what, longer?
Yeah.
But I would assume he's back in December.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, this is a very Alex Barutha coded trade question here. Would you rather have Jrue Holiday and Ausar Thompson or Buzelis, Cam Johnson, and Podziemski?
I think I would rather have Jrue and Ausar. Hard to ignore the 3-for-2 aspect of it, though.
Yeah.
Again, I think Buzelis is a buy low. I'm not really a Cam Johnson guy. I think I've been pretty vocal about that. Pods, I like him, but again, it's just not. It doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen the way we want it to happen. So I think I would just take Jrue and Ausar.
Quick injury update because we mentioned Dominating earlier in the show. Not on the injury report tonight. Lakers at home against the Phoenix Suns. So it looks like he'll be good to go. Would you rather stash Cam Thomas or DeJounte Murray?
Oh,
yeah.
Do you have a strong lean on that?
It feels like we might see Cam Thomas sooner. Both really bad situations, that's for sure. I think for me, it's probably Cam Thomas. I mean, Murray's also coming off a very serious injury and coming back to a bad team that, despite being bad, has a ton of options, whereas you don't really have that problem with the Nets.
Yeah, the Achilles returns. You're probably not getting back-to-backs out of them.
Right.
The thing is, like, in theory, they should really want DeJounte Murray to come back and play him because they need to win games. But you're so far in the hole, it's like, what are you? Yeah, maybe just Cam Thomas.
We need to force this guy to come back as soon as he can from a torn Achilles to save our season. And he also is not quite good enough to make that kind of impact. That is the New Orleans Pelicans for you. All right, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Porter Jr., Andrew Nembhard. Our guy here says he has Curry on IL, so when he comes back, I'll need to drop one of those 3. He's got the rest of the roster there. You can see that if you're watching on the stream. So basically, who are you dropping, presumably in a week? Russ, KPJ, or Nembhard?
Probably Russ or KPJ, right?
Yeah.
I don't know between those two. I think you just wait. Like, you got to wait to see how well KPJ plays, because I don't trust Westbrook rest of season.
I don't know. I don't know why they're playing him.
Maybe I should. I mean, maybe he'll be the franchise. Like, I don't know. It's tough to say.
Yeah, I mean, this King season could go in a number of ways. Like when you're 15 games in and there's already reports that everyone is for sale on the roster, not a great sign. They went more with the bench against Memphis last night. Like that's why Monk had the game that he did. Like they kind of reversed the minutes trend with him and Westbrook. Westbrook was terrible last night, 1 of 10 from the field, but obviously big triple double the night before. I don't know. We go through this every year with Russ. I feel like I'm never the guy who goes out and grabs Russ. I sometimes regret it, but usually, you wait it out like 3 weeks and whoever picked him up is then dropping him again.
I would, well, okay. Yeah, I would consider trading these guys. Like,
oh, sure.
To me, these guys are not drops at all. I understand you're in a shallower league based on like this question and the rest of your roster, but maybe you can trade 2 of these guys for one guy. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of managers in your league who would look at Westbrook and Nembhard and grab 2 of those guys and send you one guy back.
All right, here's an interesting question. Would you consider trading for Zion Williamson? We talk a lot about getting off of Zion and Kawhi and LaMelo and Ja Morant and guys like that. Even, would you consider acquiring Zion Williamson? I guess where's the line where you would make that deal?
I would think about it if it was for like my 2 worst consistent starters.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, the difference with him and Kawhi, for instance, is like Kawhi's a top 12 guy when he's out there and Zion is not at that level. I would say in general, yeah. I mean, of course, there's a price where I'll trade for anybody. I'll trade for Embiid If I could do it for, I don't even know, I was going to say Jay Huff, and I was like, I don't know if I would do that right now. But yeah, the problem with that is it puts you in this spot, especially if you're in a weekly lineup league, where you just got to deal with that the whole year. It's like, is it worth the mental anguish of having Zion on your roster?
It might not be.
Yeah. All right. This is a little bit of a convoluted question here, but basically it's, Alex Sarr's out to begin the week. Wizards play the Bucks tonight, and unclear if this is going to be more time off beyond tonight, but we'll see. Essentially, would you pick up Tristan Vukcevic as a potential stream? We'll probably see some Marvin Bagley action tonight as well. I know he started the only other game that Sarr missed.
I would think about it. It's probably like, I think you got to be in a deep league to even be talking about this. I don't know. I don't think Vukcevic is a 12-team streamer as much as like Alex Sarr being out matters. If they're going to do 20 minutes of Bagley and 20 minutes of Vukcevic, it doesn't really matter.
That's kind of how it played out. So Sarr, I misspoke, actually missed 2 games, November 19th, November 21st. Those were an 11-point loss to Minnesota and a 30-point loss to the Toronto Raptors. Vukcevic played 20 and 17 minutes in those games. Bagley started the first. He started the second. He did foul out in 20 minutes against Minnesota, so maybe he would have seen a bigger workload, but didn't really do anything of note in either of those games. 1 steal, no blocks. Hopefully you're in a deep league if you're asking us this. Keegan Murray or Zach LaVine, Alex?
Did not think I'd be saying this, but I would rather have Keegan Murray.
It's been rough for LaVine. I had DeRozan on my list of guys to sell. It's hard to call him a sell high, but I think he's still doing enough. It's like it hasn't been a good year for DeRozan, but he plays every game. He's still giving you, a slightly diminished version of his normal numbers, whereas the ups and downs for LaVine have been much more severe.
Yeah, I mean these Kings guys, they'll play well for like 3 games and then play just horribly for 3 games and be totally checked out. And I'm not a Keegan Murray guy. I just don't value him that highly as a player, but if he's going to get this kind of usage, and for this Kings team, as we mentioned before, like this is now about February. This is now about the trade deadline and which of the guys on these teams will be the most relevant in March and April.
Yep.
And to me, it's Keegan Murray.
Well, to piggyback off of that question, Zach LaVine or Dyson Daniels?
It's probably Dyson.
I know it kills you to say that, but it's got to be Dyson Daniels, right?
It's probably Dyson. Because some of it is I wonder, like, where is LaVine going to get traded to? And that team says, look, like that team wants him to score 20 to 25 a game for them.
Right.
I don't know what team that is.
I say the same thing about Vooch too. It's like if he were to be dealt, and that seems less likely just because the Bulls are somewhat frisky. But yeah, and that's kind of the case for DeRozan as well. It's like any of these guys, like, yeah, they have value. There may be teams interested, but you're paying this huge contract for a guy who, if you're in theory a competitive team, you're not saying like, all right, we're going to go for it. And in order to go for it, Zach LaVine, we're bringing you in as our second option.
I mean, it's not the easiest comparison to make, but think about what just happened in Denver. Like, they bring Cam Johnson in, a guy who's scoring 18 to 20 a game for the Nets, and it's like, well, you get 12 points a game now. Like, there are not shots available for you. And obviously that's a very different situation that I think LaVine is going to end up in, but maybe not that different.
One more sponsor to pass along for you this week. That is our friends over at Chalkboard. You can cash in on your NBA picks this season with Chalkboard. Simply choose more or less on your favorite player stats to win up to 5,000 times your money. For a limited time only, new players receive a free pick and a 100% deposit match. You can see why over 1 million fans have already locked in with Chalkboard to turn their sports knowledge into cold, hard cash. Whether you're locking in the perfect slip with alternate lines, using the cash out feature to take your money and run, or hammering the daily promos, today is your chance to win up to $40,000 on a single entry. Stop sitting on the sidelines. Get into the game with Chalkboard Fantasy Sports, now available in 30-plus states. Download Chalkboard today. Use our code ROTONBA, ROTONBA. You get a free pick and a 100% deposit match. All right, Alex, we got a couple more minutes here. A lot of good questions in the chat. We've hit most of those. One more I do want to get to because we did mention this guy earlier. Are we dropping Cedric Howard in a 12-teamer?
Gut feeling is no. I understand that he's not playing as well as he was before, but rookies go through these ups and downs. I would try to hold him. I understand if you want to drop him, but I would try to hold him.
Yeah, I think I kind of want to wait out like the general Memphis direction, and a lot of that, of course, is centered around Morant. But I think we've seen enough from Coward that there would be something in the back of my mind of like, man, I might really regret dropping this guy.
Yeah.
All right, we'll finish out a couple more minutes, Alex. On I just want to pick your brain quick. Any sell high guys who came to mind for you? I know we've sprinkled in a handful of those throughout the season. It's really tough to look at the rankings over on RotoWire. Check out the top 50 performers so far, and you're like, oh, I got that guy, and like punting on your biggest wins so far this season essentially is really tough. But does anybody else come to mind where you say, all right, either somebody else is coming back or what they've been doing over the last few weeks is unsustainable?
I would you we talked before the season about certain teams like the Celtics and the Pacers, like teams that we were worried about being pretty bad. And the Celtics are fine. So the question of like, is Jaylen Brown a sell high? Is Derek White a sell high?
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, Derek White might not be playing well enough to be considered a sell high. I think Boston's almost too good now for me to have those considerations. But if I'm rostering like Pascal Siakam, or Andrew Nembhard, I would think about selling high. I am really worried about what's going to happen when like March and April comes around.
The Pacers, right. Well, I was going to go in that direction, believe me. But no, you're right. The Pacers may have dug themselves too big of a hole. I think they'll actually be a lot more competitive for the next couple of months now that they're a little bit healthier. But you can't. What were they, 1-10 to start the year? Was it worse than that?
It felt like 1-10.
Yeah, so I think they were, and you just can't dig yourself a hole like that and expect to get out of it with no Haliburton. And I think the difference between Indy and Boston is that we still have this specter of Jason Tatum returning to like bring the Celtics to another level, whereas we don't have that with Haliburton.
100%. Yeah, there's no way Haliburton comes back. Seems like Tatum might. Would you sell high on Austin Reeves?
Really good one. That's a really good one. I mean, I think I'm looking at our per game value. He's number 7 player overall on the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about it. I mean, I think Austin Reeves is that good. So it's tough to like sell a player who you really believe in, but we have what, like 4 or 5 games with LeBron at this point. He's still, seeing relatively limited minutes. He's picking his spots out there. I actually love the way he's being used. In general, it's going to lead to a turn down for Austin Reeves. So it's like, I guess the bigger question is, where would you draw the line? Like, who would you take for Austin Reeves? Because you're not trading him for anybody who ranks above him, right? You're not getting Tyrese Maxey for him.
Right. I guess this is cross position, so it's tough, but if someone offered you like Jalen Duren, maybe it's that kind of a guy.
Yeah, I think that's the right range.
Like Trey Murphy, if someone offered you
I don't know if I would do Murphy.
Would you do Jamal Murray?
I think so. I think the production could be relatively similar between those two. Part of it depends on how much you trust LeBron too. It's like, is he going to stay healthy? Is the sciatica issue going to be there? Because any night he's out, Reeves is going to go off. I was kind of going even more big game. Like, would you trade him for? Could you get Josh Giddey? Would anybody put Giddey on the table for him? Probably not, right?
They might. Yeah, they might.
Okay. Yeah. So it's really tough. I mean, deals like that, you're always going to feel like there's kind of something there where you might lose it. But yeah, I think that's a really good one. That's somebody who's making us think. That's for sure. We got a lot of questions about Zach Edey. We touched on him earlier. I want to wrap with that. Where's his value right now? A guy that you certainly don't want to sell, but obviously, his value is at probably the highest it's been at any point in his NBA career. If you have Zach Edey, you might be getting offers for him. What would that kind of deal look like? Not that you're looking to sell him, of course, but is there like a target player where you say like, all right, maybe I'll capitalize on Edey having the best game of his career and try to get somebody who's a little more consistent?
I mean, I would do it for Duren if someone offered Duren. I highly doubt that would happen.
Yeah.
Man, Like if someone offered me Franz Wagner, I would really have to think about that. I'd probably want Wagner.
Yeah. What if somebody's
Alex,
like, hey, I really need rebounds and blocks. I'll give you Julius Randle.
I might do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Alex Sarr.
Sure.
That one might be tough to me. I think that one's a lot closer. Maybe that's like the
Okay.
most fair one is like someone's like, I don't
Yeah.
know if the Sarr thing, I don't know if I believe in it. Edey's playing really well.
Right. Well, I think that's a great one because you could say the same thing about Edey, right? It's like these are both, similar young players on kind of bad teams and, a little bit smoke and mirrors. But okay, just wanted to get your thoughts and try to give a better framing for where we view Zach Edey. Awesome stuff as always from the chat. Appreciate all the great questions. You guys make this a super fun podcast for us to do every Monday. We'll keep doing it every Monday throughout the NBA season. We'll have 4 episodes per week in this stream. You can catch them all on the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball YouTube channel. Make sure you put in that code. You see it there on your screen. YouTube 15 gets you 15% off any of our subscription plans over at RotoWire. We'll talk to you next Monday.